Okay, let's just jump right in. We've all seen the incredible, almost magical things AI can do, right? Generating these stunning videos from just a little bit of text. But today, we're going to talk about the huge, fascinating gap between what these systems can create and what they actually understand. This quote from AI pioneer Jan LeCun just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Humans can learn something as complex as driving in about 20 hours because we just get it. We have an intuitive grasp of physics. But AI, it needs millions of examples and still gets tripped up by the unexpected. So, here's the deal. This isn't just about being more efficient. It's about a completely different way of learning. We humans build this intuitive model of the world inside our heads. Today's AI, though, it's all brute force pattern matching. Think of it like this. It's the difference between knowing the rules of chess and just memorizing every game ever played. And that brings us to the real puzzle we're exploring today. You see these AI systems, like Sora, making videos that look unbelievably real, but then you spot these little glitches, things that just don't make sense. So why? Why is there this massive canyon between what an AI can show us and what it actually knows? Well, a lot of the top researchers believe the answer isn't just to throw more data at the problem. It's about a totally different approach. It's about teaching AI to learn about the world, well, the same way a baby does, by watching, by playing, and by slowly building an internal map of how everything works. What's so amazing is how babies build this knowledge. It's layered. They start with the super basic stuff, like object permanence, the idea that when you hide a toy, it doesn't just cease to exist. Then they stack more complex ideas on top, like gravity and inertia. And the wildest part? A lot of this is learned just by passively watching the world go by. And that brings us to the key concept here, a world model. Think of it as the AI's own internal physics engine for reality. It's a system that doesn't just copy and paste patterns it's seen before. Instead, it can actually predict what's going to happen next because it understands the fundamental rules of the world. Okay, so that's the goal. But how in the world do you actually build one of these world models? Well, one of the most promising blueprints out there right now is called the Joint Embedding Predictive Architecture, or, JEPA for short. And this is where the philosophy gets really interesting. A generative model, like the one that powers Sora, tries to predict every single pixel. It gets lost in the weeds, worrying about the texture on every leaf. JEPA, though, does something different. It tries to predict a high-level, abstract idea of what's happening. It learns to ignore the pointless details to focus on the grammar of the scene, the stuff that actually matters. So let me break down how this works. The system gets shown a video, but with big chunks blacked out. Its job is to guess what's happening in those missing spots. But here's the genius move. It doesn't try to paint the missing pixels. No, it tries to predict the abstract concept of what's there. This forces it to go beyond just visuals and develop a real understanding of objects, actions, and physics. All right, that sounds pretty cool in theory, but does this approach actually, work? Well, the early results are really promising, especially when you start combining this architecture with other types of models. Just look at this. When researchers bolted a JPI objective onto a large language model, they saw this massive jump in accuracy on a really complex reasoning task. That tells us the model is learning something deeper, a more robust representation of the world, not just memorizing surface-level patterns. But, and this is a really big but, does getting a higher score on a test mean you actually understand the subject? This gets us into a much deeper, almost philosophical question. Are we just building a more sophisticated parrot? Or is there real comprehension happening here? Let's circle back to those Sora videos. In this clip, you've got a couple of wolves, and then poof, another one just materializes out of thin air. This is a classic sign of an AI that doesn't have a true world model. It lacks object permanence, that basic rule a toddler knows. Things don't just blank in and out of existence. And check this one out, it's even weirder. So you have people digging up a plastic chair. Solid object, right? But as they lift it, the chair just morphs. It bends and flows like it's made of liquid. Again, this is the AI shouting, "I don't get physics." It's just copying visual textures without any concept of what a solid object is supposed to do. Now, these glitches aren't just funny little mistakes. They're actually a roadmap. They show us exactly where we need to go next. See, the ultimate goal here isn't just to make prettier videos. It's to build complete interactive world simulators. I love this way of thinking about it. A camera captures a snapshot of what is. A world model, on the other hand, captures the underlying rules of reality so it can simulate what could be. It's not just recording the world, it's learning to run a full-blown simulation of it. So why should you care about this? Oh man, because this changes everything. Imagine video games generated on the fly that react to you in truly unpredictable ways, or robots that can be trained for thousands of dangerous scenarios in a perfectly safe simulation. We're talking about tools that don't just create pictures, but that actually understand the logic of the world they're creating. And that leaves us with a final, pretty mind-bending thought. This whole quest for an AI that understands is really a quest to build a perfect simulation of our own reality. So once we finally crack that, the truly wild question becomes, what happens when we ask these systems to start simulating new realities with entirely different rules? That's the future we're heading towards.